This week we're going to be doing our top 10 fullbacks. Obviously, Pappenhausen's breakout start to this year, and the back end of last year it's raised a lot of conversation about who's the best fullback in the game, and right now we're pretty lucky to have so many good ones. I was just looking at the 16 teams before. It's probably 12 gun fullbacks right now, which is pretty crazy. So we're just going to run through our individual top 10 fullback rankings. So if you want to go from yours, starting from 10, mate.
Starting with 10?
Yep, go from 10 to 1. We'll leave the best till last.
Well, top 10, I got Tommy T from Manly, and that's just because he hasn't played.
Yeah, you can't get on
He'd
the
probably
field.
be up higher, but he's not playing.
Yeah.
Then I've got Ponga, because the same reason. Like, you just don't know. I'm not sure about Ponga still. I don't know if he's a lot of hype, or he is that good, but so he's down the bottom. Then I've got the Canberra fullback Shans.
Yeah.
Then I got a Smoky, and it's probably biased because the Tigers, but Dane Laurie, I think he looks good. You know, he's young. He's only played 4 games, but he looks dangerous. Every time he gets the ball, he looks dangerous. I mean, probably the only thing wrong with him is small.
Yeah.
6, I got Dylan Edwards, who's just safe. I mean, he's nothing special, but he's safe.
Yeah.
Then you got Gutherson. And Gutherson really is just all sheer energy. I mean, he's not...
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of skill there. I think he just gives 120% every week, and he's everywhere. Then I've got RTS from
The Warriors.
Because he's
Big Rog.
He's probably... I think you could... If he was behind the same pack of forwards as Pappenhausen and Tedesco, he'd probably be the best in the game, because he's dynamite. Then you got Latrell Mitchell, Tedesco, and I've got Pappenhausen ahead of Tedesco, because I think it's a toss of the coin between both of them. But I think I just like Pappenhausen better, because I think he's more dangerous. Teddy plays a very strong game, very brute strength. Like, he's fast and brute strength. He's something like 100 kilos or something.
Yeah.
So he's a big forward that can run fast. Whereas Pappenhausen is small, but he just pops up everywhere. And the key to that, really, when you look at those, Pappenhausen, Tedesco, RTS, and Gutherson, they're always around the ball. Latrell Mitchell's a bit different. He drifts in and out of the game, but he plays a different style. You know, he's more of a big 5'8".
Yeah.
But those other guys, they're very all similar. But yeah, no, as you said, we're pretty lucky. I mean, that's a pretty good list. And they're all playing similar, and the new rules all suit them.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, just quickly before we move on to my top 10, I wanted to ask you, you've got Pappenhausen 1. Does that mean he is your New South Wales fullback, or do you think the Origin game is a bit different and suits Tedesco?
I think Tedesco will play because Origin's a bit of a brutal game in the first 40 minutes, his size. So you'd put Tedesco in, and then you'd have Pappenhausen off the bench. I mean, he could play anywhere. 5'8", he could play wing, and he could play fullback, but I think you bring him on once the forwards have done a bit of damage. And that's what New South Wales lacked last year, was they really lacked that spark, whereas that last game with Harry Grant with Queensland, they had the spark, whereas our guys just... but then, I mean, the only thing I'd stand back is the problem in New South Wales last year, we picked far too many people out of position, and so they don't gel. But yeah, I'd still have Tedesco above Pappenhausen.
Yeah, shout out to Harry Grant and Cooper Johns, who were just in the Melbourne Players Box just chatting to girls on Friday night. Good on them. Harry Grant was actually giving the lads nothing. He was too busy with his girl, but fair enough. Alright, my top 10 list. It's a little bit different, fairly similar though. Number 10, I'm going Brimson. I think he's a little bit more inconsistent than some of the guys up the top here, but on his day, he can be a top 5 fullback in the comp. 9, I've got Dylan Edwards. Yeah, pretty similar to you. I think he's just a fairly stock standard. Most weeks he'll give you a 7, 8 out of 10 performance. Rarely see a 9 or 10 out of him though, but he's a very good player. 8, I've gone with Shans. I think he is one of the best defensive fullbacks in the competition. However, I do think that's a little bit less important in the last couple of years. I think that was really important in like 2016, 17, 18, but you seem to see less like fullback stops at the moment, but I think he's really good at that. Similar to Gutherson, I think he's a bit less skillful, but just gives everything he's got for the Green Machine. 7, I'm going Ponga. Yeah, we haven't seen him in 2021 yet, but I think on his day he's still very good. I think he's similar to Roger, a little bit less... not as strong as Roger, doesn't break as many tackles, but he's got a bit more of a passing game. So, yeah, I've got him down at 7, but he's a similar sort of player to Roger, I think. 6, I've gone Latrell, which is debatably too low, but I just think the top five's too good personally. But yeah, he's a very good ball player. I would be interested to see how he went in a team that wasn't so dominant in attack, because usually he's only required on the last play and he just does the block play pass, but he's very good at that, so you can't argue. 5 I've gone with Tommy T. I've probably got him lower than he could be just because he never bloody plays, but I think when he's there, we saw it at the start of last year, he's right up there with the very best. 4 I've gone with the Gutherson. I think at the start of this year, if I did this list, he'd be down at 8 or 9, but he's had a sensational start to the year. Completely love how much effort and energy he brings. He reminds me of, like, this sounds outrageous, but he reminds me of Thurston, how, obviously Thurston's a lot better player than Gutherson, but he just brings everything to the game. He's always somehow there. They make a line break. Who's chasing him down? It's Gutho. Like, he's just incredible at that kind of stuff. 3rd, I've got Roger, and 100% agree with what you said about Roger. I think if he was playing in a better team with more strike power around him, he would be the best fullback in the competition, but he's still pretty bloody good at number 3. Number 2, I've gone Pappy. I put Teddy first. I just had to do it. Like you said, it's a flip of a coin, really. Both sensational players, both probably in the top 5 in our game currently, but for me, the way I think about it is, I think if they played for a mid-table side, I think Teddy would be the better player. I think Pappenhausen thrives on playing for the best team in the competition. So does Teddy, so it's hard to... We haven't seen Teddy play for an average team for 3 or 4 years, so it is hard to make that argument, but I just think, like we saw on Friday night, realistically, Pappenhausen's impact was finishing off line breaks. He wasn't necessarily creating them himself, where Teddy last night, he grabs the ball in the middle, he just runs through the forwards and he scores. So, yeah, for me, I'm just going Teddy, but I do understand it's a close one. But it's an interesting conversation. It's crazy how fullbacks have changed since I was younger. Like, back in 2012, I reckon you were lucky to have 5 good fullbacks. Like, it's completely changed. Right now, there's arguably less halfbacks than fullbacks, but yeah, that's a weird conversation for another day.
It's a miracle! Oh yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Balotelli, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle.